Joined by our third panelist, Congressman Mike Pence, who is a very busy individual, and we appreciate his time, especially today. He was born and raised in Columbus, Indiana, and he graduated college there, I guess, and attended law school in Indiana, too, and graduated law school. So we have another lawyer on. We have another lawyer on the panel we're pleased to have, and in 1991, he was named president of a conservative think tank based in Fort Wayne known as the Indiana Policy Review Foundation. And Mike began also his career in radio broadcasting shortly thereafter in 1992. And he later was syndicated throughout the state and was on 18 stations in Indiana and maybe beyond Indiana as well. And he also hosted a local political talk show in Indianapolis back then. He was finally elected to Congress in the year 2000. And is rocketed through the ranks there and was most recently reelected to a fifth term in November of 2008. He was elected unanimously by the House Republicans to serve as the House Republican Conference Chairman in November 2008. And in his role as conference chairman, he helps to develop and disseminate the message of the Republican Conference and to promote its members. So a key role there for the Republican caucus. Congressman Pence has consistently and aggressively fought for the protection of our constitutional freedoms of speech and the press. His work in this area includes the Broadcasters Freedom Act, which he co-authored with Congressman Greg Walden, who is another former broadcaster. So we're pleased to have Congressman Pence here. And Congressman, you missed some great presentations by your co-panelists, both of whom, Jerry Fritz with All Britain Communications and Dick Wiley of Wiley Rain, who was a former FCC chairman, obviously expressed some tremendous analysis on the fairness doctrine and its kissing cousins, as I like to call them, and you can imagine where they're coming from. But we appreciate your hearing an update from you as to what's happening in the Congress and where you think things are going on in these important areas.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for everything Judicial Watch does to ensure transparency, accountability, integrity in government, and particularly today, bringing together such a distinguished panel to talk about this issue that is very much alive on Capitol Hill. There's been an interesting dance that's taken place on Capitol Hill since just a few years back. I brought an amendment to ban the so-called fairness doctrine for 1 year in the appropriations process, and that is that every time somebody every time a leading Democrat says that it's not something that they're interested in doing, one of them, shall we say delicately, gets off message. And I want to allude to some of that today to make sure people know just how grateful we ought to be to Judicial Watch for the fact that they are remaining vigilant in the defense of our freedom of the press, freedom of expression, and I'm personally grateful for that, Tom, and for your role in the public debate. To Chairman Wiley and Mr. Fritz, it's an honor to be on the panel with all of you. And I appreciate everything both of you have done to preserve and protect freedom on the airwaves of America. I will not try and add to what my staff that's been present has said has been very illuminating presentations. They're presentations that we'll carry back onto Capitol Hill to inform our members. Let me take just a couple of minutes to share what I think will buttress my central point, that this is real. This is an objective of many on the left, both within the corridors of power from the White House to the Congress, and also many on the left around the country. I'll say emphatically, bringing back the fairness doctrine would amount to government control over political views expressed on the public airwaves. I want to say I believe it is dangerous to suggest that the government should be in the business of rationing free speech. But that's precisely what the fairness doctrine, in any iteration that it would be returned, would do. We don't need to speculate about that because, as you've heard from these experts, that's what it did do for 4 decades when it enforced a tyranny of banality and mediocrity on the airwaves of America until 1987. President Reagan thankfully freed us from that. But there are many that would like to bring it back. And House Republicans, as I mentioned just a few short years ago, began a process of running to the sound of the guns on this fight. It really all began for me when in the aftermath of the rejection, the proper rejection, in my judgment, in 2007 of an amnesty bill authored in the Senate, I remember hearing a Republican member of the U.S. Senate said in an interview, this is all, talk radio is to blame for this, and, quote, we're going to do something about that, close quote. Well, being an old radio guy, which Tom read my bio like I was impressive. I was just an old radio hand from Indiana. I schlepped around my tapes and got people to carry my radio show. I used to have to hustle these general managers at stations. And in the immediate aftermath of the Fairness Doctrine, I saw firsthand what a chilling effect government regulation has on broadcast. I lost count. Chairman, I lost count of a number of times I sat down with general managers and said, well, I got this thing called the Mike Pence Show. It was about 1993. I said, you know, we talk about political issues, we talk about Bobby Knight, whatever you want to talk about. And they went, oh, you know, we can't, if we have you on, then we'd have to have, you know, the other side. And I go, no. My lawyer thing kicked in. I said, no, you don't have to anymore. You can just put me on the air. It's okay. But I had to overcome a hurdle to get people to carry my show. Now, I will explain to the young people in the room, when I say I left tapes behind, just think of it as a download in a plastic case. Anyway, I explained that to my kids. But anyway, we started to hear members of the Senate begin to talk about this, and the list of people on the Democrat side who have openly advocated a return to the Fairness Doctrine is rather impressive. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi last summer openly advocated a return of the Fairness Doctrine in an interview at the Christian Science Monitor. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin has filibustered efforts during the last Congress to prevent a return of the Fairness Doctrine, and has gone to the floor of the Senate and openly advocated a return of content-based regulation to the airways of America. Senator John Kerry, Senator Debbie Stabenow, even former President Bill Clinton have all openly advocated restoring this archaic form of regulation known as the Fairness Doctrine, not even alluding to some newer, updated 2.0 version of it. They actually have advocated going back to the old thing. And so Greg Walden and I put together legislation called the Broadcaster Freedom Act that would essentially take the power away from the FCC to ever regulate the content of American talk radio under the Fairness Doctrine. And it's a permanent ban. When I brought an amendment that was a one-year ban, as Tom knows, to the floor, it passed by 309 votes. I want to tell you all, if the Broadcaster Freedom Act, which Democrats are now going on 2 years of preventing a vote on, if the Broadcaster Freedom Act was brought to the floor of the House of Representatives, I have no doubt it would pass. Because my amendment, which secured a one-year moratorium on the Fairness Doctrine, passed 309 to 115. That's 309 members of Congress, including more than 100 Democrats in Congress who have gone on the record in opposition to the Fairness Doctrine. But Speaker Nancy Pelosi said last summer she would not permit a vote on the Pence-Walden Broadcaster Freedom Act. Well, I'll leave to you why she would not permit a vote, but I will tell you, I have every confidence it would pass. It would pass not only because of the record, but it also would pass because, I got to tell you, it's a source of pride for me as an American. Every time freedom gets an up or down vote on the floor of the People's House, freedom wins. Okay? And so, you know, our objective and what this forum and others have been very helpful in doing is help us bring the Broadcaster Freedom Act to the floor and do away with this archaic regulation once and for all.